It is not in all violent relationships that murders actually happen. But even if there is no murder, no media, no outrage, the fact remains that most relationships are very loveless and therefore necessarily violent.
I have seen very well-educated boys, they themselves are earning very well, and they in their conversations are saying things like, I've got an offer of a 50 lakh dowry or a 1 crore dowry and a Scorpio and, things like that.
You see how that relates to dowry? Now I carry this degree, kindly offer me placement. Now I carry this degree, I'll command a higher dowry. We are who we are. It'll be very, very difficult to look at a daughter as a human being. You look at her through the lens of her gender. It'll be extremely difficult. But think of the 5-year-old, that little girl.
Yeah.
And she has already been told she is Parayadhan.
Yeah.
And two such unhealthy people get together as man and wife. Now what will they do and what kind of kids will they breed? Please imagine.
Hello everyone and welcome to this special feature on NDTV. I am Preeti Dahiya and I am in conversation with Acharya Prashant, one of world's most followed spiritual teacher, a philosopher, a guide, and someone who's established himself as a voice on contemporary social issues. He speaks with authority, clarity, and also at the same time puts things in spiritual and wherever necessary psychosocial context as well. Thank you, Acharya ji, for taking out time and talking to us.
I'm glad.
Acharya ji, why I have started with the contemporary social issues is because I want to, first of all, talk to you about the recent incident that we've seen in the National Capital Region of a young girl dying of burn injuries. Now, one side claims this was a dowry death. The other says that this was a suicide. Whatever the case may be, one life is lost in a very unfortunate circumstances. In today's India, 2025, reports like this, how should one see it? What is the context of a dowry death when this practice itself was banned more than 6 decades ago and still society falls in the trap of it?
The context, very basically, is of lovelessness. When relationships, due to some reason, are founded not on clarity and love, and rather on greed, or physical instincts, or traditional inertia, then this is what will happen. You see, we are raising this issue here right now because of a very apparently violent act that has happened and keeps happening. We know the number of dowry deaths that happen in India. The Crime Records Bureau stats are available to all of us. When those things happen, then we take note. But the fact is that there is always violence, and that is buried beneath silence. So we don't come to see of it. And that happens because people are coming together on very flimsy reasons, and that will lead to violence. When, think of the days preceding the death, the murder, any dowry death. Imagine what the situation would have been with that person, in that relationship, in that household, right? It was quite possible that the killing could have been somehow avoided.
There must have been a build-up.
Right. And it is not in all violent relationships that murders actually happen. So we don't get to know of them. But even if there is no murder, no media, no outrage. The fact remains that most relationships are very loveless and therefore necessarily violent. Hmm? As a society, do we value clarity and freedom? When you have clarity, you know who you are and therefore who must you relate to. And when you have freedom, then you can proceed as per your clarity. Do we value these things, freedom and clarity, or do we value accumulation, money, tradition, blind following?
Adjustment.
Yes, adjustment.
Yeah.
Because there is a certain way most people are living.
And we are expected to follow that.
You expected to follow that. You fit in somehow. Do we value all these things? As long as we do not value the right things, such incidents will keep coming to our notice episodically, but the fact will remain that there is a continuous undercurrent of very bloody violence flowing unnoticed. And as I said, there are lots of, but just buried because we don't notice silence. Even if it carries a lot of grief, pain, we notice things only when we are compelled to.
Yeah.
When the blood becomes unavoidable, we are forced to look at it, then we say, well, something bad has happened. And if you see, in that we save our skin. We say, something macabre, something entirely violent has happened only in this moment, in this relationship, in this house, at this place. Otherwise, things are generally fine. And we console ourselves. Things are generally fine. Only in this case did something very deviant happen.
So we make that an exception.
We think of that as a deviation or an exception. The fact is that is not a deviation or an exception. If a society, if a people are not brought up rightly, not educated rightly, and do not carry the right value systems, then this violence is not an exception but the norm.
I don't know, Acharya ji, there is a problem here because, these kind of cases are not being reported only in a certain income group or in a certain society where education levels or literacy levels are not, as per today's standards, or the exposure is not as per the standard of a 2025 country. I have seen very well-educated boys, they themselves are earning very well, and they in their conversations are saying things like, I've got an offer of a 50 lakh dowry or a 1 crore dowry and a Scorpio and, things like that. They are flaunting it as some sort of a status symbol. They are well educated. They are earning well for themselves. They can very well have a partner take care of her and their future families. Yeah. But still, where does this psyche come from that I am a commodity whose market value is this and I will take advantage of this?
Yeah. You see, you could be very well educated in many external things, right? In India, if you're an educated person, a professional, earning well, you most probably carry a professional degree. You're either an engineer or a doctor or an MBA or a CA or something, or maybe a lawyer, somebody. That in no way prepares you for life. That education tells you about certain things on the outside. Let's say you are an engineer, an IT engineer working at Bangalore. So you know coding. Or if you are a mechanical engineer, you have been taught about gears and automobiles and power plants and such things.
You know your job.
You know your job. But do you know yourself? Do you know what it means to live? Hmm? In fact, why do people get into institutions offering professional courses? They get into those institutions just to have a good career and have good money. That does not change who they are. Even at the moment of admission into a professional course, one is already greedy.
Yeah.
One is already ignorant. One is already going to use the institution as a stepping stone. Something that would build up his CV.
In marriage market also.
And that CV carries weight in the marriage market also. Even when the fellow is standing at the admissions office, he's actually thinking of the placement office. You see how that relates to dowry? Now I carry this degree, kindly offer me placement. Now I carry this degree, I'll command a higher dowry. Much the same center, much the same inner thing. So there is no way your professional education, your formal education is going to illuminate you from within or displace your inner traditional center that you have already built up in the first 10 or 15 or 20 years of your life. That will remain. Whatever you do next would just be an expansion from the pre-existing center. Not that you will start operating differently as a person. Yes, you will operate more efficiently, but as the same person. You will operate more effectively, you will operate more successfully, but as the same inner person. Inwardly, you are just the same. It doesn't matter whether you are unemployed or a highly paid professional.
So essentially, it's like, adding accessories to your costume.
Very well put.
But the body remains the same. The mind remains the same.
Exactly the same.
You have also written a very interesting article in one of the leading dailies, The Pioneer, and I was going through that article. You call this a trap for both genders.
Yeah.
Can we expand that on that a bit further? Women, you say, of course, continue to endure the harshest consequences. How is the other gender for a male? Is it a trap?
You see, in many ways. First of all, if you see the labor participation rate of women has been surprisingly declining in India over the last few decades. And the demand for dowry becomes amplified when the woman is not working. Not that if the woman is qualified and working, dowry won't be in the picture, but dowry would almost certainly be in the picture if the woman is, if the girl is not working and she's going to remain dependent on the husband financially. So the man would be carrying the financial burden. For the sake of possessing the woman, owning her completely, curtailing her freedom completely, he has taken a rather big burden on himself. What he's saying is, you will be here, you won't go out because that doesn't fit in with my traditional ways. You stay here and I'll provide for you and the kids. First of all, there is a financial burden on the man then. Secondly, the woman is a human being. You do not allow her to have experience, exposure. Her consciousness doesn't grow. She gets inwardly distorted.
Yeah.
Most women in our country are not really deft or adept or skillful or even knowledgeable in worldly matters. It's almost a conspiracy because they have been confined to the four walls of the house.
I was coming to that. They've never been exposed to that
They've
sort of
never been
atmosphere.
exposed.
Yeah.
You confine somebody to what is actually a cage. What else do you expect? The woman will not grow as a conscious person. and the husband is to continuously live with her, definitely it's a punishment for the woman. But then if you see, it's a trap for the man also. If you are subjecting yourself to the company of someone who has been prevented from learning, so the man might think that he has acted smart by confining the woman to the home. The fact remains that if you do not allow freedom to the other one, then you are inflicting the company of a caged person on yourself.
Yeah.
Also, it is the nature of all human beings, man or woman, to be free. That's our essential nature. Our nature is to be free, to grow, to be conscious. And if you do not allow your partner, the woman, to live as per our essential nature, there would be retaliation, gross or subtle, sometimes even unconscious. The woman, for example, will not know how to deal with the kids. She will in no way be a good and able partner. So the man then is trapped financially, psychologically, in all ways possible. And then there are these husband-wife jokes. We talk of the henpecked husband. Who's responsible? If you do not allow your partner to grow, to know, to experiment, to explore, to travel, to struggle, even to get defeated, if you do not allow her these things, then you are putting yourself in a spot. And that most men realize, but only after it's too late.
Let me try to put this burden equally on the father as well. When he is raising a daughter and a son at the same time, even now in our country, the standard of expectations are very different. The boys get all the jobs outside the household. The girls have to learn everything in the household. Even the mothers encourage it. So in today's context, when we see cases like the one we've seen in the NCR region, shouldn't parents also take equal responsibility of raising strong daughters better, who are better exposed to the world and the way it's moving? And also, there is a quote, very interesting one, you must have heard this one, that we have perhaps learned how to raise strong daughters, but we have not taught our sons how to deal with those, empowered girls.
What you're saying is absolutely right and great to hear. But it won't happen.
How will it happen?
It won't happen because, you see, I'm a father. Let's say I'm a father. On one hand, all my traditional images that I hold sacred and venerable, if they do not reflect an empowered woman, it will be very difficult for me to continue to belong to a tradition and yet raise an empowered daughter. It will be very difficult. I'll find myself trapped.
Because you don't have an example in front of you?
Because you do have an example in front of you, and that example is coming from tradition. And you find it almost heretical to ignore that example. So you may have a certain affection for your daughter, even deep affection. But even then, maybe with tears and sobs, you'll send her away. And you'll say, I love you so much. But certain things are inviolable in life. So you have to go away. Please go away. Don't we see that in many father-daughter relationships? I love you so much.
Yeah.
But my old values, my traditional ecosystem overpowers my love. So you have to go away. I cannot allow you certain things, even though I love you so much. And that becomes some kind of very soul-stirring tragedy.
Yeah.
Huh? You look at it and you too start feeling emotional. Such a loving, doting father, and but the girl,
It's a girl child. He has to live without her.
He has to live without her, and he cannot give her freedom beyond a point.
Yeah.
And he cannot go beyond the paradigm of the established father-daughter relationship. So you kind of sympathize with the father. But that's it. You cannot go beyond that. So when we say that fathers or mothers must raise empowered daughters, that cannot happen in isolation, in a vacuum. First of all, the entire mental and social ecosystem has to change. As long as we are who we are, it'll be very, very difficult to look at a daughter as a human being. You look at her through the lens of her gender. It will be extremely difficult. You may have affection. I'm not denying that. But that affection will be superseded by something else.
Acharya ji, this particular case is also very curious because, it does not bring just matter in black and white. There are a lot of gray areas in it. And as the case is unfolding, we are hearing new theories every day. One of them also goes on to say that, the girl had a beauty parlor that she was running. She had a salon that she was running after marriage. It was not a new marriage. They were in matrimony for 9 years. Still this happened. And apparently the man in question here was upset over she making fun of him in social media reels and working in that salon, which he must have had some part to play with, in terms of establishing it for his wife, that she doesn't have to go very far away from home. It will be a more controlled environment if she wants to work at all. These are gray areas, don't you think? On one hand, she's working. On the other, there's a man whose ego is getting hurt because she's making fun of him on social media.
Yeah.
Then there is a child also involved in the equation. Too many complexities. Are we struggling to put our thoughts in like one direction?
You see, we do not know the facts
We
really.
don't, yeah.
We do not know what is really happening. So it would be imprudent for me to get into the specifics of one particular incident somewhere. But greed in relationships, dowry and dowry deaths are a more general problem, more endemic. You see, the woman might be allowed to run a beauty parlor or even go outside, but still there are very clearly defined, though invisible, boundaries, right?
I agree.
Being a working woman yourself, you know of the glass ceiling,
Yes.
right? There is definitely one. So one has to investigate, where does all that come from? If we do not get to the root of it, we'll be just left wondering or grieving or outraging again and again in every successive episode.
Yeah.
So the kid is born, a boy or a girl, and there is no way they know of themselves as superior or inferior or defined or limited. They do not know that. Where does all this come from? When we discover that 25 years later, that boy who was once born actually sprayed kerosene on the girl and set her ablaze. How exactly did that happen? It has something to do with the 25 or 28 years that they spent in this society, in the institutions of this society, in their family, watching TV, reading books or novels, watching movies, listening to songs, speaking to friends, going to religious festivals, participating in family ceremonies. This is what they have been doing these 25, 28 years.
Simple conversations at home.
Simple conversations at home.
Yeah.
They have been doing this for the last 25 years. And this is what has resulted in a human being that can set another human being afire. And this is what has resulted in a human being that is ready to accept the lordship of another human being who is almost similar in age, right? And sometimes even inferior in education,
Yeah.
right? But the girl is supposed to offer fealty, my devotion, my submission. What transpired? What happened all these years? What was it that was happening? Unless we address that, we can grieve over these shocking incidents, but that would be of no avail. We'll reach nowhere. What is it that we are teaching our kids? How do we look at our daughters? How do we look at our boys? How do we look at ourselves, first of all? When a woman says, this is who I am, this is what defines me, I'm a great mother and a great wife. What exactly is the greatness about? And is it not possible that the image of the ideal mother that we venerate so much is in some way complicit when it comes to the subjugation and even harassment of women?
Very true.
Right? Think of our traditional image of the ideal wife or the ideal mother, and it is not an image that just men carry. A lot of women feel very, very puffed up and proud that they are the ideal mother or wife or whatever, without realizing where this idealism is coming from. Who gave them that image, that ideal, that idea? They do not know that. But they think of it as an absolute. They think of it as something that definitely is the truth.
Yeah, unquestioned.
Unquestioned. This admission of social and traditional values without any inquiry, without any critique, without any exploration, as long as this continues, violence will continue in some form or the other, because violence is the inevitable output of ignorance. As long as there is ignorance in the heart of the man and the woman, there would be violence, gross or subtle, visible or invisible.
Yeah. No, it's unfortunate, but it's also true. And these are facts which are coming out in front of us almost on a daily basis from some corner of the country to the other. Numbers speak for themselves. Now, I want to close this topic by once again referring to the article that I was talking about, that you have written, and where you talk about the way forward. 2 points stand out here. One is the inner empowerment, because we have spoken about the fact that no matter how hard parents try, and how hard the husband may be, well-intentioned in trying to expose you to new things, but self-empowerment is something which will perhaps take you forward and which will be your biggest empowerment, and a culture of consciousness. On these 2 points, I would like to expand on your thought process. First, let's begin with the inner empowerment. How can a woman inculcate that in her? Or even for a guy, I think for a man, it's very important.
It will be very important for her to start with nothing as the truth. She cannot start from a pre-existing position. I am a girl or I am a woman, and this is why I was created, to accompany the man, maybe to be an able assistant. No. Keep all these things aside. You'll have to start from zero, from a very clean position. You cannot say, I'm a girl and one day I have to leave my father's house. I am pariah dhan. I am somebody else's possession. I'll go somewhere else. By the way, do you see the violence implicit in this? We talk of what happens to her when she goes to that other house. But think of the 5-year-old, that little girl.
Yeah.
And she has already been told she is pariah dhan.
Yeah.
Think of these continuous years of violence. She already knows who she is in relation to her brother.
Correct.
Her brother will be the owner of the household, the carrier of the family lineage, and also the family riches.
Yeah, and she'll be reduced to being a guest.
And she'll be reduced to being a guest, and she is to be sent off one day. So look at the violence there. So the girl cannot start from any of these positions. She has to be very bold in rejecting just everything. Rejecting not in the sense of just keeping everything aside forever. Rejecting in sense of not accepting things that have not been experimented with, critiqued, explored, inquired into.
Or peddled as absolute truth.
Or peddled as absolute truth. No, nothing is the absolute truth. I do not take anything on face value. Bring it to me. Once I have rejected everything from the position of the absolute truth. No, not this, not nothing, nothing. Now you can bring your stuff to me. You can bring your ideals, your values, your traditions, whatever you think of as your truth. Bring it to me. And let me look at it with boldness, without fear, without submission, without bias. I'll look at everything. And then if I find some merit in it, maybe I'll say yes. But I cannot say something is divinely ordained and I have to live by it. That is the first step. And what annoys me or pains me is that even so-called educated or empowered women, they are carriers of a lot of things that they have inherited from the past. The problem does not lie so much in carrying those things, it lies in carrying those things without questioning. Without questioning. So you might be empowered in one sense. You might be a high society woman earning well for yourself. In fact, even earning more than your husband. Or maybe you didn't ever marry and you tout that as a symbol of your emancipation. And all that is great for you. Fine, wonderful. But still, if you look into your mind as a woman, you find you are carrying many other things that you never went into. A lot of isms, maybe a lot of superstition, maybe a lot of racial pride, maybe a lot of religious bias. And do you see how all these things are linked to each other? It's a debate. Ignorance versus clarity. And everything that boosts your ignorance will subject you to violence. Even if the element that contributes to your ignorance does not look directly related to any kind of violence, but it's a law. Ignorance will definitely breed violence. A superstitious person, for example, is much more likely to be violent. We know of bigotry. Right? We know of all kinds of, I'm white. I'm white. Now, will that not lead to violence? Or I belong to a certain caste or a certain religion.
Certain sense of superiority.
Superiority or even inferiority. You see, I belong to a certain caste that is not looked at with respect. Even this will breed violence. Even this will, because you have accepted something without questioning it. You see that.
And now you are filled with rage.
Now you are filled with a lot of things that are very, very unhealthy. And two such unhealthy people get together as man and wife. Now what will they do and what kind of kids will they breed? Please imagine. The man does not know a thing. In fact, he knows just too much without ever having questioned a thing. Ditto for the woman. And they both are role-playing, the man as the superior one and the woman as the inferior one, or whatever. Let's get out of the superior-inferior dichotomy. There is some role-playing happening, with neither of them knowing why exactly must they play that role and who they are beneath the act. Who the real actor is, they've never inquired into that. And these two are getting together, and that's what we call as a family. And this family is now raising girls and boys. Then how is it surprising that we have such shocking incidents every other day?
Very well put, Acharyaji. But like you said, the unfortunate truth is that these cases will not stop unless there is a inner liberation of your own consciousness, and you know that you as an individual stand for this, and therefore this, what has been encouraged over decades, is not something right. On that note, thank you so much for, like always, putting things in perspective, and we hope to have many more successions with you and dive into more deeper topics. Thank you.
Thank you. Most welcome.